Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So it is Sunday, but it is not any makeup releases because I am pre-filming. I'm going to be, at the time that you're seeing this, with my family in North Carolina. So I thought we would do something a little bit different, but kind of on the same lines as like talking about like what I'm going to buy, what I'm not going to buy, what I like, what I don't like. And I thought because it's the end of the year, we could go ahead and sum everything up. So I thought I would do a best and worst releases of 2018. So I've been working on this list for a little while. There's still like 2 weeks left of December, so if something magical or horrible comes out in the next 2 weeks, I can't include it, but I have my list here. I'm ready to go, so let's just go ahead and jump on it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start off with the best releases, but I just want to say that obviously this is my personal opinion, but most of the best releases I have tried myself, and most of the worst releases I haven't tried. I think that kind of makes sense. Like, why would I want to try bad things? And obviously I would want to try good things. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about for my best category is the Ace Beauté palettes, and this is the idea of the palettes. Not necessarily the performance, pigmentation, and I mean, they're really pigmented, but I'm not talking about like a review, like this is my favorite of 2018. I'm talking about the idea of it. So I think that these were really brilliant color stories. The 4 palettes all together, like the bundle, I think they really started something with like a trend of like multiple palettes at once. That kind of offer different things. So I thought this was really awesome. I think Ace Beauty is going to come out with some amazing things. They already showed, or they released their next palette, the Flare palette, which I'll throw on screen as well, which I think is really on trend. Really beautiful colors. So I think this is definitely one of the best releases because I think it's really showed, I think the amount of hype that Ace got for this really showed other brands that were like begging for something different. And in those palettes, I think there was only 1 or 2 true brown shades. So I don't know, I just really was happy with the idea of these palettes. I think that they've kind of started a movement. I think Ace in general has got great things coming. So that was one of my best. Next, I want to mention here, I'll pull this one out, the Hasina 2 palette from Blush Tribe. I think this is just such a good palette. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And here is the inside, and this is so stunning. One of the most unique palettes, the mix of the purple, a little touch of blue, and then the green. I just think this palette is amazing, and it's so nice to see something on the market where you're like, there's nothing else like this. Maybe you could go through your collection and pick things from different palettes. I think it would take a lot of palettes to be able to choose all these colors and get them all together, but this palette just, I think it is so good, and definitely one of the best releases. Not even necessarily like quality wise, although this is going to be my 2018 favorites, but such a good palette, color story, uniqueness. I just think Blush Tribe really killed it with this one. Okay, so the next thing in my best category has to be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Times Amrezy highlighter, and this is a beautiful gold highlight, just looks like this, really stunning. Love the packaging, love the ripples. The reason I included this in the best category is because this highlighter is, dare I say, universal. I can't believe the amount of skin tones I've seen rock this highlighter. Like, I am extremely fair. I wear the most lightest shade in almost all the foundations that I've bought. There's very few that I don't wear the lightest shade. And this highlighter, I can make it work. Okay, I have to use a specific brush because if I use one too big, it can kind of get everywhere. But if I use a smaller brush and I blend it backwards, this looks so beautiful. I love this highlighter. I love the way it looks. It's like the perfect light gold shade. And I have seen light skin tones rock it. I've seen medium skin tones rock it. I've seen tan skin tones. I've seen deep skin tones. Like, I'll throw pictures on screen of all different shades of people wearing this highlighter, and I don't expect that from a highlighter. Like, it's okay if we have to buy different things, that's fine. Like, I'm fine buying my white highlighters, and I'm sure like the super deep people are fine buying like the coppery or like the deeper, you know, rich highlighters. Like, we can all find something that works for us, but I just am so amazed to have a highlighter that works for so many skin tones, especially being a collab. I think that's so cool. Like, to come up with something that works for so many people. I think that's just amazing because a highlighter to me is something that's usually not universal. So I don't know, I love this because so many people can wear it. I just think that's amazing. If you're like buying this and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be the most beautiful, amazing, everything highlighter to ever exist, I don't know about that. I mean, I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like you might have other highlighters in your collection that will do the same thing, but the reason I love this is because it's so cool. I just love seeing so many different people be able to wear this. So that's on my best list. All right, so next is a product that I actually don't have, and this is the Mario times KKW palette. And I just wanted to include this here because I feel like this palette started a trend. Like this palette was the original. Well, I don't know if I'd say original. I'd have to go back and think about a lot of other palettes, actually. I'm not going to say that. But when you think about it and you think about a palette that's like all the warm tones and then one pop of blue, that was the first one this year. And then maybe I'll like do some fancy editing and add all the other palettes that came afterwards because there's so many. I own some of them. There's like a bunch of ColourPop ones. Like ColourPop is obsessed with a blue neutral. Or sorry, a warm neutral with a blue pop. Jeez. So I just wanted to like kind of give kudos to this palette because, you know, you can say whatever about the Kardashians or whatever, but I mean, that palette started a trend. That palette did something this year, and I think it'll be remembered. So next I wanted to mention Ofra, and the reason why is because they've had a lot of highlighter shades, and this year it felt like they really expanded on their shades for lighter skin tones, which I really appreciate because it's definitely harder to find a true blinding highlighter when you are super fair. It took me longer to find highlights like that. So one I have right here is Star Island. Just looks like this, and it is a really beautiful gold tone. And then you've got here I have a Glazed Donut, which is like the most like cool toned white highlight. I think I'm gonna hit pan on this. Like I can already see the imprints there. So I see that coming in my future. I also, where are you? My true love, my favorite, the Pillow Talk highlighter. It's like the most beautiful pink, oh geez, the most beautiful pink tone, and you can see how much I've used that as well. Like I'm definitely gonna hit pan on that in 2019. So I just really, really appreciated them expanding so much on their really fair shades because I love these so much, and they've become staples in my collection. So I just had to include them here. So another item that I do not personally own, but I wanted to give a little bit of kudos to, and this is going to be the Huda Beauty Obsessions palette. I think that's what they're called, right? They're all Obsessions. I should really look up the name to these palettes, but I'm going to throw them on screen. And I love monochromatic color schemes. I think they're so beautiful. So I was really loving the way that these looked. It's not something I'm going to buy ever unless Huda stops selling mink lashes, but I just thought that these were stunning, beautiful, beautiful palettes, and I also feel like they have kind of started a trend ever since these have came out. I feel like there's been a lot of monochromatic kind of sneaking in, showing its little face. So I love monochromatic palettes, and I really hope to see more coming in the next year. And I just think these were really well done. And I think if she continues to expand on them, there's definitely more you could do here. I think that'd be really cool. So I definitely was a fan of those. Next, I have to mention a palette that like shook the internet. So this is the Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics, and I think the idea of this was also a trend setter. So you've got like, I don't know if this is a trend setter in the best way, because it's like a warm palette and then like a green palette. And I've seen, since this palette came out, so many different palettes now that are like really warm and then they're like reaching into another color. For example, the Juvia's Place, what's it called? The Tribe palette that just came out, very warm, a few other colors. A bunch of the Makeup Geek palettes that came out, very warm, a few other colors, especially the green one. So I feel like that's definitely a trend. Even Melt did it again. They did the Smoke Sessions palette, which was very warm, and then a few other greens. So I feel like this was definitely a trend setter. I think that I wish that the launch had been different and that they had had more and it wouldn't have been such a like hassle to get your hands on this, but I'm glad that I did get it. And it was actually cool because Melt reposted one of my pictures using this, and that's the only like big brand to repost me this year. So I thought it was cool, and it's always crazy to see like a brand like go on their page and it's like your face there. So I really liked this palette, and I think it did things. I hope that the influence of this palette equals more greens in the future. That's what my fingers are crossed for. Okay, so to me, those were the best releases of 2018, and I feel like they were all really, really smart releases, and I appreciated them. So that is our positives. Now let's go ahead and move on over to the negatives, and I actually have way more worse than best. I don't know why that is. Maybe because I'm a little bit more critical. So I think this definitely takes place at the top tier of the worst releases of 2018. So the Too Faced Glow Job mask. I hate this mask. I feel like it's so... Okay. First of all, I think Too Faced really needs to get it together. Like, are they a super sexual brand or are they a super kiddie, cutesy brand? Like, which one are you? Because you can't sell me puppy dogs and sex at the same time. Well, you are, but I just don't get it. Especially because I feel like you walk into Sephora, like especially like a young like 12-year-old girl might walk into Sephora and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this Too Faced palette." Like I feel like it screams 12-year-old girl, and then it like comes with a Better Than Sex mascara. I really don't care about sexual names. Like they don't bother me. NARS can orgasm all day. Oh gosh, I went there. Like that doesn't bother me, but at least like whatever you're doing, stay with it. Like stay to whatever you're trying to put out, because don't do the mixed signals. It doesn't make sense. Too Faced. So for one, I think like the whole glow job thing is just stupid. Second of all, glitter does nothing for your face. It's literally just a mask for Instagram. It's a mask for taking selfies. There's no purpose to it. I mean, maybe there's some good ingredients mixed in there, but glitter, like, you will never sell me a face mask with glitter. So this was the worst release to me. Just saying. All right, so number 2 is the Jaclyn Hill Vault Collection. And I think this is kind of a given. The whole release was just a mess. It was so messy. There were good palettes. There were bad palettes. There were palettes discontinued. There were palettes in a factory. There were just palettes that were reformulated in 3 weeks. Like, I don't even know. I don't know. I just think the whole thing was messy. I think it was a brilliant idea. But the carry through, something just went wrong with the whole thing, and it was sad because the original Jaclyn Hill palette was like, like amazing, like everything, and then the vaults came out and it was just a poop show. All right, so next, I wanted to mention some foundation ranges that didn't go over so well this year. First of all, the Tarte Shape Tape. I mean, you guys already know. That was a whole mess. The Beauty Blender foundation, that was a whole mess. Next, Kat Von D everything. Everything Kat Von D. It was not a good year for Kat Von D. Actually, the other day, Kathleen Lights tweeted and said, "How do we feel about Kat Von D?" And 99% of the comments were like, "No, girl, we're not here for it." And I feel like almost every single brand, it's like, "Oh, we still like them. We can see this, we can see that." Like, people go back and forth about whether they like them or not, and people will fight about it and argue. Kat Von D, 99% of people have canceled her. Me being one of them, not that it matters, but I just think everything that came out this year was just like no one cared. At least mostly no one. All right, next, Natasha Denona. I put everything, but not everything. I think the gold palette, I want it, even though I don't understand why I want it. Don't come for me because I don't like gold eyeshadows, but the palette, so beautiful. The Tropic palette had misses. The Safari palette had misses. The mini palettes I heard bad reviews on. I liked my mini Sunset, but I heard the formulas were different. I swatched the cranberry palette, which I was so excited about in store, and it was awful. The mattes were awful. I'm like, I'm not paying $48 for these horrible mattes. So I just feel like whatever Natasha's doing, she needs to get her stuff together, because everything she comes out with is a different formula. If you have a perfect formula, the original palette I have right here is a perfect formula. Why keep changing it? Why break something that's not broken? Or fix something that's not broken? Well, she actually is breaking something that's not broken. That is the truth. So I just, I'm so annoyed, because I love her artistry. I love the idea behind her palettes. I love what she's doing, but the quality is like, you just don't know what you're gonna get, and that drives me insane. All right, my camera's on 2 bars, and I need to finish this because it's almost 12 o'clock at night. Next, Maybelline x Nikkie Tutorials highlighter. No one really talked about this, but the highlighter wasn't a collaboration. It was inspired by Nikkie Tutorials. I think she got paid to have her name on it, and that was it. She didn't have a part and take in creating it, and I think that's just dumb, because she's obviously selling it with her name, even though it wasn't her who made it. So I think that's a mess. That's a mess, in my opinion. All right, next, the Nabla x Poison Garden palette was a straight up disappointment. Like the outside packaging versus the inside packaging, or the inside colors. Just, it didn't go together, and I think so many people were disappointed by that. And then whenever the reviews started coming out, at least from the friends that I've watched on YouTube, were not happy with their palette. So I'm really glad I skipped on that. Next, we have the Tarte April Fool's joke. That was a really well-timed cough. This was the dumbest thing that Tarte has ever done. And it went from the, I would say, the worst thing that Tarte has done to the best thing for other brands, because like Sydney Grace came out with their own palette, Davina came out with their own palette, the Shop Hush came out with their own palette. People are making bank off of the idea that Tarte thought wasn't good, that Tarte thought was a joke. I think it is the most hysterical situation. I don't think I'll ever get over it. I think that is iconic. They really put their foot in their mouth with that one, so I just had to include it. Next, the Huda Beauty Remastered palette. I think that was a mess as well. She had the original palette, which was so amazing, everything she ever wanted, and then she came out with the remastered version because it was the better version of the best palette. I get it, like when you're a smaller brand, you have to come out with what you can come out with, but it just kind of shows like the marketing behind it. And I was like, she's a YouTuber, but she's not your friend. Like, she's trying to sell you product, so she says this is the best palette ever, and then she turns around, and whenever she's able to afford better, she makes it better, which makes sense. But I think she should have just made a new palette and made that better instead of remastering it, because that's just messy, in my opinion. All right, next, the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores bronzer. This was something that personally annoyed me. I didn't see anyone else talk about it, but It Cosmetics came out with the bronzer, their Bye Bye Pores, and I think that sounds amazing. I'm like, a bronzer that says bye bye to my pores? Yes, 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 ma'am. It had one shade, one bronzer shade. And then, like, I think she's the co-CEO of It Cosmetics. She did like a speech talking about like inclusivity. I'm like, you have one bronzer shade. One bronzer shade. Like, I did not buy it because I didn't think it would work for me, and it upsets me in general. Like, there's times like It Cosmetics came out with 50 concealer shades this year, and then one bronzer shade. One. Like, how does that not infuriate other people? So I think that was a horrible, horrible release, in my humble opinion. Next, I have 2 products to lump together. First is the Too Faced Unicorn Bronzer. Next is the Becca Ocean Glow, and any product like this, really, I'm just kind of lumping together. Who thought these were good ideas? I just don't get it. They're not usable. They're collector items, and if you're a collector, if you love buying makeup just to buy it for the heck of it, and you have like lots of money to spare on makeup you can't actually get use out of, like, good for you, but I just think this is a stupid release. So those are all the best and worst releases of 2018, in my personal opinion. I know I got a little sassy there, and if you don't agree with me at any point, that's fine. It's just makeup. I would love to hear down below what you thought the best and worst release of 2018 was, especially if it's something that I missed or didn't think about. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So that is everything. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful holiday. I don't know if it's Christmas yet or not. I can't even remember what date this is being posted on. All I know is that it's a Sunday. So either way, I hope you're having a great time and just cherishing the holidays. And if you are one of those people, because I totally understand, who has the holiday blues, the seasonal sadness, I don't remember what to call it right now. I think it's seasonal depression is the official name. But if that's you, I just want you to know that I totally understand. I've definitely been there. I'm one of those people who gets really sad around the holidays for no reason. It's so frustrating because it's like you don't know why you're sad, but you are sad. So just wanted to let you know that I totally understand, and I hope that at least today is a good day for you. So that's everything for this video. If you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you did, and if you liked or disliked, whatever you want to do to be, what's the word, active on the channel. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I know I've said like 800 times, like, have a wonderful rest of your day, but I really hope you do. So, gosh, I really need to, like, go to bed. It's way too late. It's like 12 o'clock. Okay, bye. I need help. Dr. Phil! Oprah!